Check out this packaging. This is the Creality K1 3D printer. It was in a cardboard box, was this wooden crate, and inside this is another cardboard box. And inside is all the laser cut foam. And here is the K1 3D printer. Just peel off a little bit of that. If anyone's really into peeling off films off new products, then this could be for you. Tons of peeling to be done. Very satisfying. Really nice design and very well packaged. These are rubber feet and spool holder, tools, and even a spool of filament. And this is the Hyper PLA, the fast printing PLA, properly packaged on a spool. Just to give you a size comparison, that's the enclosure for the Ender 3, which also fits the Ender 5. Not much assembly, just fitting the door handle. Yep, seems to work. And attaching the screen. It's got a warning label on the screen. Simple job. More peely. Now fitting the lid. You take this off if you're printing filaments such as PLA that need cooling. This is a Core XY 3D printer running on a version of Klipper, and it can now be converted to open source Klipper if you desire. So we're starting up the machine for the first time. Very nice screen on this, and it reminds you here to remove the 3 shipping screws, which are labelled with yellow arrows. There they are, all removed. More peeling. And then we're setting up the Wi-Fi. You can also link to Creality Cloud as well if you want. Selecting time zone. And then it runs through a series of self-tests. Lots of strange noises and things as it does its input shaping. Here's a little clip of that. And once it's done that, it runs through some self-leveling checks. And here's some Hyper PLA that Creality sent me. This is some red PLA. Nicely packaged. And then we're going to select a model to print. Well, it's meant to be a 16-minute benchy. Let's try it. Runs through some more self-checks before it starts printing. Great first layer going down, absolutely spot on. This is actual speed and actual sound. It really is very, very fast. None of this is speeded up, this is all actual speed, real-time speed. It's amazing to watch, you hardly need time lapse. You can see the quality just looking at this. And there we are, it's come to the end. Open the door. Definitely my fastest ever benchy. And yes, it took 16 minutes. And I have to say, the quality of the print is quite exceptional considering the speed. Really very, very good. Unbelievably fast. This is my cheese fridge magnet model, so we're just slicing that in Creality Slicer. And then sending the file remotely. to the K1. Another great first layer. Notice I haven't used any adhesive for these initial prints. And there it is. Looking good. This was also printed at high speed and very, very good quality. Slight bit of ghosting here and there, but generally excellent. Very good overhangs. In the past I've often had to print this model with supports, but generally pretty good. And certainly my fastest ever cheese. Time to let it run free with the wild cheeses. This is a little key fob design in shape of 3D. Just loading that into Creality Slicer. And that's sent off to the K1. And here it is in action. And it's all done. Another great quality print. Very, very happy with that. And this is my articulated catfish design. It's a good test of tolerance, tolerance test. I accidentally added a brim to this, which isn't great because it requires a lot more cleanup afterwards. A lot of my models are available on Creality Cloud if you want to have a go at printing them. And there he is. Came out very, very nicely. And it articulates very, very well. So it just shows the accuracy. This is the little K1 camera that fits this printer, which I bought because I want to be able to monitor my prints. The wiring's all there ready for it. It's a little bit fiddly because it's very small and in an awkward place, but it was straightforward. It was easy enough to do. This is my incredible bulk model I designed. This one isn't on Creality Cloud. I've sliced that and sent it off to the printer. There we go, all ready to go. Just printing the boots, Doc Martin boots. I actually stopped the print not long into this because the supports weren't adequate. The printer is very vigorous, and if the supports are too fine, it does shake them loose. So make sure you add plenty of supports. This is testing out the camera, remote monitoring. So I can keep an eye on my prints. Even now there weren't enough supports on the arm and it fell off. I re-sliced this with heavier supports before doing this print, as you can see. So I printed another arm, tree supports, and then reattached it. This is some ASA. I was printing some parts that I needed. The cabinet is brilliant for printing materials such as ASA. And this is another design. This is a Halloween skull I did, or the first draft of it. You can see the eyes follow you around as it moves. And here it is printed. I used the enclosed spool of Hyper PLA to print this, and I just didn't quite have enough on the spool. It just ran out before doing the top of the head. Anyway, I redesigned the skull slightly. I refined the design and then reprinted it. The supports look rather groovy. These are tree supports again, and there it is. And the eyes still follow you. I was much happier with this design. And there's another articulated model that I've designed. This is my goldfish model. And this came out very, very nicely as well. Difficult peeling everything off single-handed while I'm trying to film it. But very happy with that. Made some more little key rings for my friends at the gun shop. And then I designed a back scratcher in Shaper 3D again. And you can use the visualization tools to see what it'll look like when it's printed. So then there it is, from design to reality. Printed out in their Hyper PLA. Another good quality print. Very pleased with that. Tree support again, you can just see sticking out of the bottom there. There it is, fitted to a garden cane all ready for scratching. I then sliced a benchy myself, did a double size one, I think it was double size, and printed that out in the Hyper PLA. You can see that's come out incredibly well. Very clean print. Excellent bridging. This was some TPU to make a connector. It's a little bit rough on the surface. That's not the printer, that's the filament. It got a bit damp. And here's some Halloween skulls again, printed out in yellow. Haven't quite finished cleaning these up yet, but there they are. And a couple of my pumpkin designs. Also printed out a connector for a hose. This was for a laser I'm working on at the minute, for the smoke extractor. Hello folks, here I am up in my attic workspace next to my Creality K1 3D printer. This machine has been amazing, really very impressed with it. I can honestly say I don't think I've had a single issue at all, faultless really. It's been fantastic, and it has had hours and hours of printing. I've printed all manner of things, all different materials. I've used quite a lot of the Creality Hyper PLA, which works fantastically, but I have to say the PLA Plus filaments I've been using work really well on the high speed settings as well. I haven't had any issues. Printed out my monster version of me, the Incredible Bulk with his Dr. Martin boots on. His arm came off during printing, so I had to print a new arm and bond it on there. I mean, if you it's quite neat really. If you shut your eyes you can't even see the join. And there he is. Very pleased with how that came out. Amazing detail on that for an FDM printer. It's really an incredibly good quality print. There we are. But absolutely amazing that is. Printed out benchies, including this big benchy, which is near perfect actually. This is one I sliced myself. The 16-minute benchy that was installed on the printer, incredible actually, really good quality. Better quality at that speed than some 3D printers I've tried at standard speed. It really was very, very good. Tolerances are good. Articulated models like my goldfish, that's printed well. Back scratcher, that worked out very well. I designed that on Shaper 3D. I've also printed quite a few components for various projects I've got on the go out of ASA, and that worked very, very well as well. Also TPU, done quite a few TPU components. The TPU I've got is a little bit on the damp side. I haven't got a filament dryer, so they weren't the smoothest of prints, but it still managed to print it very, very well. In fact, I got some very smooth prints just by dropping the temperature a little bit, and the layer adhesion still was good. Cooling is excellent. Overhangs and bridging, fantastic. High-speed printers, of course, need very good cooling, so there is a fair bit of fan noise with a printer like this, but I think that's the same with all high-speed 3D printers. You wouldn't want it in your bedroom next to you. At standard speeds and slow speeds, like when you're printing TPU, it's not bad at all actually with the door shut. It's pretty good. Really clever design. Very small and neat. Much smaller footprint than a standard Ender 3 or an Ender 5. So much better really space wise. Because the print head moves so fast, you do get quite a bit of vibration, which also generates noise depending on what you've got your 3D printer stood upon. I do worry the thing's going to shake itself to bits eventually, because it is quite energetic when it's going. The rubber feet do help. I think an upgrade I would probably do to this machine is move the filament from the back of the printer, because it's on a spool holder attached to the back of the printer. I would probably mount the spool on a separate spool holder, a bearing driven one, or perhaps in a dry box when I get one, just so it keeps the spool off the printer. I think this will help with the input shaping, because there's quite a difference between a spool that's nearly empty and a full 1 kilogram spool, and I'm sure that the large vibration generated by these machines, having a spool loose on the back rattling about, will affect input shaping, particularly, as I say, on whether it's a full or an empty spool. So I'd probably move the spool off the printer onto a separate printer roller system. The print bed is excellent, produces nice smooth bottoms to your prints. I didn't actually use any adhesive on the print bed for quite a long time. I was mainly printing PLA, and I didn't have any adhesion problems. I didn't have any problems separating the prints from the bed either, because it's a flexible sheet. They peel off very nicely. I did start to use adhesive when I was printing out some longer pieces in ASA, because it was lifting a little bit at the edges, so I did use adhesive then. I used some Elmer's glue stick, and I found that that does help a little bit as well with certain filaments. It acts as a separating layer. I think you might end up with bed adhesion that's rather too good otherwise, and you might damage the bed trying to get prints off. The only slight issue I've had with the printer wasn't with a part that came with the printer. I actually bought a Creality K1 camera myself to add to this, because they do a specific little camera that fits into the K1 printer. Very neat, custom design, just goes in there beautifully, and it's a great way of monitoring the prints. Where I've got this in a remote place, I can't keep an eye on it all the while. It's very useful to be able to log on to the web UI and check how my print's doing. The only issue I had is that the time-lapse footage I got from the camera is unusable. Whatever I've put the files through, I think they're corrupted in some way. I can't read the MP4 files that are coming out of it, but I'm sure I'll find a fix for that. It's probably something I'm doing. But all in all, this printer has been amazing, and thank you very much, Creality, for sending it to me. And I'll be back soon with some more videos.
More rubbish coming soon.